I want to thank the board for selecting me at this time. I had a speech prepared, but when he mentioned Buddy Diliberto, I got to tell a story first about Buddy. Good friend of mine. ESPN was doing 2 shows back-to-back on a Friday and Saturday night. Bob Arum asked me, do you have a local commentator that you want to be the announcer for the fight? I said, absolutely. Buddy Diliberto, he knows 48 states that take his program on TV and radio. So Bob said, no problem, hire him. It was Friday and a Saturday night back-to-back, and on Friday night, Buddy started. After the second fight, they came to get me and said, the producer of ESPN needs you in the truck right now, the production truck. I said, what's the problem? He said, I don't know, but he needs you now. So I went back there. He said, listen, this fella you got announcing the fight, we can't understand a word he's saying. I said, they understand him here. He said, yeah, but this is on TV worldwide. He said, we're going to complete tonight, but we're going to get you a different announcer for tomorrow night. I said, if that's what you have to do, no problem. I grew up in Holly Grove, very tough neighborhood. It was tough then, it's tough now. I can remember coming home from football practice. I always stopped at my grandmother's house first. My Uncle Nina's standing out in the street. He said, go change your clothes, you're fighting a guy at the playground in about an hour. I said, what guy? He said, ain't got nothing to do with it. Just go change your clothes. That's how we rolled in Holly Grove. My uncle, Angelo Bacata, trained me to be a boxer, brought me down to St. Mary's Gym, which was world famous. I was in the gym 5 feet away from Willie Pastrana and Ralph Dupas while they were training. What an honor for a 16 or 17-year-old kid. I'll never forget it. And those 2 guys are still heroes of mine today. I had an opportunity later on, while I was running a prison boxing program at the sheriff's office, and I had a good basketball program started that the inmates really related to. Then I got approached by a couple of guys, said, well, look, we would like to box. And it was a good program because it kept control of some of the problems that we had. Well, one of the boxers was Jerry Celestine, who had already had about 3 or 4 pro fights. So I had to bring on a friend of mine, Vincent Annona, who taught me the pro game, how to wrap hands, how to fix cuts, how to manage the fighters. Celestine only had about 5 pro fights, and they had a fight at Municipal Auditorium with Vonzell Johnson, who was number 3 in the world, 18 wins, no losses. Vincent Annona tells me, Jerry can beat the guy. I said, Vince, it's put him in a spot this tough? He said, study the fight yourself. And I did. And I came back and I said, I think Jerry's got a tremendous chance. Well, Jerry went out, beat the guy, and because Johnson was rated number 3 in the world, Celestine was immediately put in the top 10 in the world. Eventually, I think you may have seen it, fought Michael Spinks for the world title. I was very fortunate to train a lot of good young men. A lot of those guys are here tonight, and I want to get to them, and I'm going to ask them to stand up. But one of the stories I have to tell was I had a Philip Brown, an amateur fighter who won a national tournament and was put on the United States amateur boxing team. And the Russians came here to fight in the Superdome. They had 10 fights, Philip won his fight, and Philip won. But when the Russians were going to get on the bus at the airport, we sent the Orleans Parish prison bus for them. So they called me. I was in my office. They said, you got to come to the airport right away. I said, what's the problem? The Russians said they're not getting on that bus. I said, why not? They said, got bars on the window. I said, that's a prison bus. So I had to go out there, meet their interpreter, and took about 45 minutes to convince the Russians to get on the bus. Well, they come down here and they fight in the Dome, and Philip Brown defeated the Russian in his weight class. Went on to fight in Cuba. Now, this is a man who was an inmate. After his career, he had never got arrested again to this day. I was very proud of him. Jerry Celestine was the same way. I was approached by Melvin Paul, who had never been an inmate. He came to me and said, I'd like you to handle my career. So with Vincent and Nona's help, learning the program, I said, okay, I'll do that. Melvin went on to win the ESPN National Tournament and became rated in top 10 in the world. He fought for the world title in Atlantic City against Choo Choo Brown. 15-round split decision that he lost, which was a pure robbery. Brown was from there, that was home cooking. Melvin Paul should be the world champion. Never had that chance again, but he fought Hector Camacho on TV. He fought a lot of major fights and had a fantastic career. I need to thank my wife and family because they've been very supportive of me. I've traveled around the world, London, France. I had Paul Whitaker fighting a bull ring for the world title in Alls, France. I mean, just a tremendous achievement through the years. And I got to give a lot of credit to my cousin, Angelo Bacard. I said it was my uncle, but it was really my cousin. I had a big opportunity when I became involved with Bob Arum. And Bob would be promoting and sometime come down here and co-promote or in Mississippi. But wherever he went, he hired me to work for him in operations, in a Superdome, in the fight, same thing. And I had Jerry Celestine fighting the Superdome on the card, same with Melvin Paul, and they both won. They have several guys that I really appreciate them showing up here tonight. It makes me feel real good. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I'm going to try to introduce them, and when I do, I'm going to ask them to stand up. Tommy Harper. Paul Whitaker, who was the NABF super middleweight champion. Ronald Weaver, the Cobra, has a reputation, one of the toughest fighters ever come out of New Orleans. Ferdy Pacheco, who was one of Muhammad Ali's fighters, said, I'll never forget that kid Weaver. What a fighter he is. I don't want to leave nobody out, but I got to go mention this man. Former world champion Dominic Over the Water Carter. I may have left somebody out, and if I do, I apologize for it, but I'm happy that the guys came out to support me. We traveled together through the world, and it's something that I will never forget, and I'll never forget this award tonight. I want to thank you.